Welcome back with Ray and Tay. We
Yay!
are now question 3 of part 3.
3.
Yeah. All right, so question 3 is, what factors need to be considered when working to engage the families?
I think we need to consider maybe a bad home life, more traumatic home life. A big thing that stood out to me from our Disputing Poverty book is on page 149 when it talked about Anna, and it was Anna's story, and she talked about how her parents were in and out of jail, there was drugs, they were living in a very low poverty, and I think we really need to make sure that the students not only has an outlet, but also you make sure every time you see the guardian, whoever's guardian is taking care of Anna at this time, knows like, hey, this is how Anna's doing. We always encouraging her and building her up and building up her family.
Go, Kylie, go! Good job, Kylie. You're doing amazing, sweetie. Wow, look at her go.
Will be really helpful. I think will kind of help. So that way she feels excited to come. She's not worried about bad home life, and parents aren't worried that you are judging them for what is happening at home and whatnot. So they will want to be able to trust you, and they will want to feel be more engaged. And so yes, so when Anna's parents may not be answering, you know why, because this is happening, so you give them more grace. Mm-hmm. Always give grace, and just because you never know what is happening at home.
And something to add on to that is maybe asking how they are,
For
reaching
sure.
out, just being like, hey, how are you today?
Hello, how are you today? Hello, how are you today? Hello, how are you today?
Even if it's just it's not anything about their home life,
Mm-hmm.
just asking how they are.
Yeah.
Asking, what their plans are for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Just little things that might help them.
Making that connection.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because really, at the end of the day, you're sure just be trying to make that connection with everybody that picks up that student, because they are the big people in that student's life.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I was thinking about when it came to things to consider, factors to consider, is the parents' work schedule. Sometimes it can be hard for parents to get their kids out to school on time.
Yeah.
Or even to pick their kids up.
For sure.
As a kid, my mom was bouncing between jobs, and I did light care. I was doing before and after school care. But before that, I was late a lot to school. And something that my teachers had done to help me was personally coming up to me, asking how I am, asking. At first it was, why are you always late to school? And then once they had talked to my mom and had understood the situation, they were a little bit more graceful with me, like you said, giving grace. But they were also giving my mom resources, which is how I got into Y Care or even Boys and Girls Club in the first place.
Okay.
Which they gave me resources, which I think is really important when it comes to being a teacher, is
sure.
being able to know and find resources, or even if you don't know, going and looking, putting in that effort, because it really helps with the connection and feeling. It helps the parents feel like they're in a good environment and they feel safe to go to the teacher to ask for certain things.
Yeah, I think always making your area a safe place should be almost a number one consideration.
Yeah, not just for your students, but for the parents as well.
Yeah. Okay, another factor that I feel needs to be considered when working to engage families is the language barrier. We live in a place where lots of people are more Spanish speaking or other languages, and that is perfectly okay. I am willing to learn whatever. But I know I personally have worked with a family, and they are in a Hispanic only speaking household, and mom was the primary parent who was better to talk to because of she knows more English and she's easier to talk to. But when dad would pick up, there would always be the issue of dad not quite understanding what we are trying to explain about his child, or understanding what he's trying to say about his child, which is really hard. And so I think a way to like kind of get around that is educating yourself as much as possible. I know that can be hard, but I think educating yourself as much as possible, even if that's just the basic words, is really helpful. It'll be helpful for not only the student to see that you are trying to learn to help them, but also for the parents to see that you are trying to help them, and I think they will trust you more if you see, like, if they see that you're trying to make that effort. So you can use like Google Translate or other translators to just kind of help you figure out what is going on. In our last class, our literacy class, during our teacher interview assignments, when I was talking to my teacher, she discussed that she also had a student who only spoke Spanish, parents only knew Spanish, and they had this almost like a voice box kind of deal, and he would just hold it up and it would translate what he was saying to the teacher or the class as needed, and it would translate to him what the class was saying. And so that was really helpful, especially for the younger students. So yeah.
That's really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that they got that worked out.
Yeah.
Something else I was considering is a cultural difference.
Yeah.
Reading Disrupting Poverty, I read Nina's story. It's on page 25. She was talking about how she would get pulled out of class, as she had gotten pulled out of class and put into a special class because she was Mexican, like solely because of that. And to me, I think that is something to consider. Is like you were saying, like the differences that can also go into the language barriers. Could also go into cultural differences, because she was also talking about how her home life was a little different. She'd go and work in fields every summer. They were her parents were very strict, and it was really hard for her as a student, even though she was a good student and she was very smart. It was hard for her as a student to be a student when her family life was a little harder to work around.
Yeah, especially if she is more focused on how to help parents provide than her education. That can make it hard for her to always want to put school first, I think.
Yeah, so that was something that I considered as well.
Yeah, I think these are all really good factors to be considered when working with engaging families. And of course, there's so many more. And there's so many factors that go into everything when it comes to your students and their families. And so I just think it's very important to think about not only these, but everything you encounter, for sure.
And I think going in with that, it's very important to get to know your students on that level, to where you know who they are and how you can help them succeed in life and in school.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I think that is all for us for question 3, part 3.
Yay! Bye.
Cut.